Rival characters, let's face it, they're the other side of the same coin. The dudes and gals that love to stick it to the player because why not? It makes things fun after all from a story and character perspective. And so more or less I just want to highlight some of my favorite rival characters across all of gaming simply because I got nothing else better to do for like the next few minutes. At least that's what the script here says. Also expect this entire video to just be Capcom IPs because yeah, let's be honest with ourselves, they know how to cook with the sauce. I mean, have you seen their entire roster? Anyways, let's get the show on the road, get into unscripted territory, and just have a grand old fun time, am I right? Yes, this is like the transition segment of the video where we're actually going to be talking about the... Yeah, you know how it is. Of course, when discussing rival characters first, we can't obviously forget about the biggest elephant in the room being the Pokemon franchise here, can we? Clearly, these guys are the ones that have consistently given us a grand cast and roster of rivals to go through each generation of Pokemon games, and honestly, some are bangers and others are... well, they're not really rivals, let's be honest. Yeah, to get those guys out of the way, Hau, Hop, and Wally, they're not rivals, okay? You know, you can say whatever you want to say about them. To me, they're not rivals. They're like their own separate category, and at best, they're just supporting characters in their respective generations. No way do they challenge the player at all, and no way in hell do they even have some sort of an edge in the competition in regards to their rivalry in the first place. Like, nah, that ain't it. Anyway, moving all those guys aside from now, let's actually talk about the rivals of Pokemon, starting of course with Green or Blue in Pokemon Generation 1. Yeah, this guy is the one that started us off with everything and the blueprint to what a Pokemon rival is like, or at least according to Twitter. Snarky, confident, means well, but will bite you to the dust no matter what. This is what makes Green a notable rival in the Pokemon franchise, especially considering the fact that he even won the Pokemon League before you after kicking his ass multiple times throughout the game, and it kind of shows a lot in the sense of his ambitions towards beating you, the player. Plus, it also goes to show that later on in Generation 2, when he becomes a proper gym leader of Viridian City, he even has so much respect for Red, who is somewhere in the midst of Mount Silver doing who knows what. But hey, that goes to show you that the OGs never miss. And then obviously, we can't also forget to jump one more generation, Silver, which is one of my favorites of the Pokemon rivalries. It's more because of the edgy nature of him in the sense of like, why can't I consistently try and beat you, the player? And it's all about that and his level of like understanding that, oh, I have to be friends with my Pokemon, I have to trust and lean on my Pokemon. And while a lot of people don't enjoy that one, and it's just to explain the friendship mechanic of this generation, I absolutely love it for the sole purpose of, especially in Heart Gold Soul Silver, when you do a rematch against him, he has a Crobat which requires you to have friendship points with him so that it evolves from a Golbat to a Crobat. So that shows a level of characterization and growth that I think a lot of people sometimes forget. But of course, since I jumped the gun with Generation 3 after, you know, completely dissing Wally, and we can't forget Mayor Brendan in this case because I don't really consider them as rivals too, let's go talk about Barry from Generation 4 real quick. So according to my notes here, I described him as ADHD crackhead energy because he's just so dorky and lovable, and the only reason he's a rival in the first place is because he just wants to be a strong Pokemon trainer. He just wants to prove his worth as a trainer, and he does it while fighting you throughout the course of the story. And it also helps a lot more of a character development in his part because really he's also doing it to showcase that he has the potential to be like a Pokemon trainer like his dad, Palmer, from the Battle Frontier. So it's kind of has like that little like double meaning in regards to his personality, in regards to why he's like our rival in this game. And plus, let's face it, he's lovable. But now we're in Gen 5 category. In Gen 5 category, dude, this one is where we easily have the best of the best in terms of rivals, in my opinion. Well, we can talk about Cheren and Bianca some other time. They are good rivals, don't get me wrong, in the context of Pokemon, but we gotta be giving this to N, okay? Like, N is the guy in terms of rivals for Pokemon. Like, if Green was the blueprint, N was the execution. Like, N is the improved model of what a rival should be, because considering that Gen 5 was a generation where you had more of an emphasis on story, and delivered that in terms of his ethos, in terms of who he was as a Pokemon trainer, and how he was constantly battling you, not just literally, but also in the sense of like, is your Pokemon happy? Is your Pokemon free? And he was testing testing that to the limits, almost to the point where he basically scaled a full ass raid in the Pokemon League towards the end and made one cool ass boss fight. He became the champion before you, and you fought him with dragons. That is peak rival material. But moving on from Pokemon now, let's talk about those Capcom IPs I teased earlier back, starting with Ace Attorney, because yeah, I'm on that Ace Attorney brain rot, and yes, you're definitely getting a review from me soon, okay? Don't look at me like that in the comment section. But Ace Attorney, now this one, there's so many rival characters to choose from. You got Franziska von Karma and Justice for All. You got Godo from Trials and Tribulations. We can kind of count Clavier Gavin from Apollo Justice Ace Attorney. Simon Blackwell to a degree in Dual Destinies. But let's be real, the real rival character in all of Ace Attorney will forever be Miles Edgeworth, starting his debut, of course, in Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney and working his way up to be that chief prosecutor in Dual Destinies. Like, that is the rival of Phoenix Wright. And I mean, design wise, you can see it. He is the red to Capcom's blue, and he is basically what Phoenix isn't in regards to a lawyer, but he will do whatever it takes, much like Phoenix, in order to get the truth out. And it especially shows throughout the first game, and it definitely shows later on when you play as him in Trials and Tribulations. In another sense, he's also a rival character in the sense of that respect and admiration, because he truly respects Phoenix as a lawyer throughout the entire trilogy, and it goes to show that Miles absolutely needs Phoenix in regards to pursuing that truth and pursuing that justice. And in Dual Destinies, their rivalry is so apparent because of that legendary status as like the best lawyers in town. Like, Phoenix Wright is the comeback king, but Miles Edgeworth is the chief prosecutor, my guy. But continuing on with the Capcom train here, let's talk Mega Man again, but this time let's show some appreciation for Bass, because my homeboy deserves some, let's be real. Now, Bass is usually chalked up to be the edgy robot that showed up in only 2 games of the original, but had a whole ass subplot in the later half of the Battle Network games, and he's easily just one of the best in terms of what Wily created back in the day, at least before he created Zero. He has a simple premise is what I'm saying as a rival character, and it honestly worked for the Mega Man IP. Like, Bass shows that he is just as strong and capable as Mega Man, and he has the abilities that allows him to. I mean, the entire Mega Man 8 boss fight kind of demonstrates that point, and I love how there's just this similarity between Bass and Mega Man in terms of like, this is the guy that's gonna do the work for me in regards to the, you know, Dr. Light and Dr. Wily. Plus, I just wanted to, again, show some level of appreciation for Bass as a rival character, and he has one hell of a boss fight too, and music to boot. But of course, to end off the Capcom IPs here, we have to mention the Capcom rival of all time, Virgil, the Alpha and the Omega, buddy. Yeah, we're finally here. Like, if we're being honest here, it's not a rivals video without him and also another edgy character that, yeah, we'll get to in a second. While Dante is like the chillest of chats and mostly just wants to pay the phone bill at the end of the day, Virgil is constantly at odds with his twin brother over the idea of wanting power, of being motivated by that drive and ambition so much that that's literally the entire plot of Devil May Cry 3 to some extent. Yeah, Devil May Cry 3 is the reason why Virgil is the rival character of not just Devil May Cry, but just Capcom period, because it's this level of brother competition to the point where it's like, yeah, I'm gonna take everything away from you in the midway point of the game, and I'm gonna make sure that I get what I want. Like, it's that level of like that brotherly fight to the extreme. And I love how, despite all that, towards the end of that game, and especially towards the end of Devil May Cry 5, when you fight Virgil again, they obviously make up, they make amends, and they hit us with that awesome jackpot in both instances, especially DMC5, when Virgil's like, come on, dude, really, we're gonna do this again? Plus, let's be real here, they definitely made up after getting their ass handed to them by Nero towards the end of the game too. But yeah, that's enough of Capcom for the day, but now let's talk about something similar to Devil May Cry, and that's of course Mama Bayonetta. So Bayonetta has that one rival character that's similar to Virgil, but not really, and of course we're talking about John. To give a little bit of personal context with Jeanne here, she is one of my favorite female characters of all time, second to Bayonetta of course, and the reason for that is because throughout the first game, she was the type of rival that was pushing Bayonetta to her very limits, all to ensure that the Umbran Witch bloodline was secured, and paired with her entrance and mannerism she had throughout that game, oh, she serves and she shows. Plus, from a boss fight standpoint, considering that this is a hack and slash game, I love the boss fights that we had with her, and I love, again, the level of respect that she gives to Bayonetta towards the course of the game, and especially the end of it, and how much she helped out against Jubileus. It's truly amazing. And we also can't forget that she can drive a jet plane and help us get towards the last half of the game of Bayonetta 2, and she just, again, serves. Like, Bayonetta 2's design for Jeanne is easily one of the best ones there is, alright? Like, let's be real. Plus, let's keep this in mind, she's also a history teacher. Like, that's confirmed, at least in the movies. But now, to end off with all rivalries here, at least for this video, we obviously cannot mention the other elephant in the room here, that being the Sonic franchise. Now, Sonic rivalries are pretty interesting because Sonic as a character has a lot of rivals throughout the course of his career as a Blue Blur of Speed. And I'm not just talking about the games, I'm also mentioning the Archie comics and the IDW comics. But just for this video's sake, I'm just going to be all video game exclusive here. Sorry Surge and Scourge, but hey, you know, that's for another time. Also, I don't really consider Metal Sonic as a rival in this case, just letting you all know. I mean, the OVA does showcase that, but he was just more of an antagonist at the end of the day as opposed to the other characters I'm going to mention in this video. So starting us off with Sonic here, we got to mention Knuckles because he's honestly the first rival character to a degree. You know, for a lot of people, he's considered to be a rival character, and it makes sense. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in Sonic Rivals. You know, the PSP game that has Rivals in the title, and he's right there in the box art. And in a sense, I consider him as the first rival because he was made to be all antagonistic against Sonic throughout the course of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and over time he kind of learned to respect Sonic and his way of life despite the obvious attitude of Knuckles having to be the one to guard the Master Emerald and him being burdened with that responsibility. It's a rivalry that kind of bonded into a mutual respect and friendly competition with one another that honestly holds strong to this very day, no matter how many times we have to look at Sonic Boom and the cursed meta era in terms of writing. But hey, look, Sonic Frontiers kind of rectify all of that, so hey, I'll give it a pass. But now, this is the part that we've been waiting for. This is the end-all be-all for all rival characters, and we have to mention Shadow the frickin' Hedgehog, the ultimate life form, and honestly, one of Sonic's best rivals if Sega learned how to actually write him well. Being introduced to the Sonic community in Sonic Adventure 2 for the Dreamcast and 2 Battle for the GameCube, Shadow left an immense impression on not just me, but on the entire Sonic community on how a Sonic rival should act. He's just as confident and snarky like Sonic, and he has the actions to back up his claims of just being the coolest. And look, design-wise, it all adds up, and Shadow learns to respect Sonic's abilities towards the end of their campaigns, and also gave us one hell of a final boss fight, if not the most iconic Sonic final boss fight of all time. Like, yeah, live and learn, bitches, cause Shadow was that guy for a time. But yeah, that's about it with rival characters, or at least for now. You know, I'm pretty sure I left out a ton out there, and maybe with the comment section below, you'll tell me which ones are your favorite rivals and which ones I should cover in a future video. Because yeah, maybe I will talk about them in the future, maybe not, but still, engage with the content, and I'll see you all with more discussions, topics, and you know, all that reviews soon. So with that being said, you know, peace out and roll the outro because I got nothing else to say here, so bye bye!